Greetings, I'm the one called Horror Show, and welcome to VG Therapy, the channel where I talk about games. Now, I'm a big Godzilla fan. I have seen nearly all of the movies. There's a few I still haven't seen. But I'm still a big Godzilla fan. I've played a lot of the games, and unfortunately, this is one of them. Now, I saw this at my local retro game shop and thought, oh, here's this game that's apparently terrible, but it's for a good price, and hey, Godzilla memorabilia at the very least. You know, so I thought, oh yeah, bugger it, I'll pick it up. And when I got told that apparently it's not too bad by the guy who works there, I thought to myself, oh, well, maybe it's not too bad. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. Now at this point, you have to realize my expectations are so low that the only way that I could have been disappointed was if my NES caught on fire. Which it didn't, but I was still disappointed by this very game.
For those of you who don't know about the game, oh boy, let me tell you about Godzilla. The game came out in 1988 in Japan, 1989 in America, and 1991 in PAL territories. The game was published by Toho, and apparently it was made by Compile, who I have talked about before in the Guardian Legend episode.
Now, I didn't know Compile had anything to do with this game because it's not really written anywhere on the game, and when I went through the list of games for the last episode, it wasn't there. But everywhere I've looked says that they made this game, so I don't know.
The actual game is much more interesting, I'd say. There's a few strange design choices, namely the overworld, which is a series of hexagons that each turn you can move either Godzilla or Mothra over a set amount of tiles, and when you stop you have to play a short stage.
It's kind of dumb for a Godzilla game, because it's like, why? The cost of this design choice means you have to do 2 or 3 levels so goddamn many times, they end up getting sick of it.
Although on the flip side, the monster battles are pretty fun. Each map has a small selection of boss monsters, namely Gazora, Mogura, Viron, Hedorah, Baragon, Gigan, Mechagodzilla, and Ghidorah. And when you get next to them on the overworld, you can fight them after doing a level, or just wait for them to come to you and you can not do the tedious levels. I'd say the fights are pretty fun. Like, sure, if you try, you can find exploits and beat them easy, but who cares? They're still fun. Except for the fact that there's an invisible time limit on the bosses that doesn't get mentioned at all, so you just get randomly booted out and you have no idea what's happening. So you go back in and you find out, oh, they get health back and you don't.
But honestly, I mean, that's really it, because the story?
It opens with saying that the year is 20X, XDX, Planet X are being tosses, and it's up to Godzilla and Mothra to save the day. And when you beat it, you get to see a picture of the heroes looking at the Earth in a text scroll, which basically tells the biggest backdown in history, with Planet X basically saying, no, you didn't win, we're gonna mess you up when we come back, we're not cowards.
The gameplay in the levels and bosses is good, I guess. It's basic, but it works.
However, the levels are basic and not varied at all, which makes the game so boring, because you end up doing the same 3 levels like 30 times each. It gets so bloody boring so bloody quick. So what would end up happening is that I'd go along the map, and when I'd have to stop because I couldn't go any further, I'd sigh heavily and wish I could skip these. Initially, I thought that this was a cool idea, because if I want to extend my gameplay time, I could go to any of them, and I could get many more hours of fun. But it turned out to be far too simple to be fun after the first couple of levels. And I mentioned that the levels are varied, but that's only limited to the sprites and design of the background, which gets repetitive almost instantly, and it's just freaking weird. Also, while I will admit that yes, Goji has gone off-world before, he spends most of his time on Earth, and this game has no Earth levels. So there's no tearing up Tokyo like he's known for, and it wouldn't have been that hard since the levels play the exact goddamn same as every other level, and
I've got nothing else to say. I mean, I enjoyed the game, don't get me wrong. First time through is when I enjoyed it. I had to play through it a second and a third time just so I could get footage. And my god, the entire time I was playing, I was just filled with absolute despair.
I spent almost the entire game holding right and turbo A or B, and I had no problems with this mode of gameplay, and these later playthroughs made me realize how many problems this game actually has. Like, I thought it was a good idea that it had a last game option, where if you get a game over and don't turn the game off, you just go straight to the stage you were last on, but if you turn it off, you get a password. But then you realize the game is like 3 to 4 hours long, maybe 5, so who the hell needs a password? It's not difficult, it's not long, it's not the type of game to have a quick go of. Who the hell needs to leave in the middle of the game for long enough enough period of time that you need to turn off the NES. It's so freaking short. If you want to get back to it later, don't. If you're not going to finish it, then don't bother, because it's not long enough for you to finish what you've started, then you're not going to want to finish it. Other things I noticed on my later runs, other than it's piss easy, it gets easier because you'll only level up Godzilla because there's a leveling system, because why not? And I'm not sure if it does anything other than extending your bars. Mothra is useless because you'll never use her because, while yes, she can get further than Godzilla and the levels are built in a way you can just fly over most of the stage, whenever she gets hit, she flies to the bottom left of the screen and can easily get stun locked for ages by regular enemies. So Godzilla gets a bunch of levels and Mothra gets none. Like, I try to use her, but I can't just hold turbo A or B and right because screw you. Also, her special is useless because unlike Godzilla who shoots a beam, Mothra drops her wings. As incredibly dumb as that is, you can't hit anything because anything that matters is too big to get under you, so you do absolutely nothing. So if you use Mothra, it's a challenge. If you use Godzilla, it's insultingly easy by Gigan and Ghidra, who stun lock you and do as much damage as its AI will let before it backs off because of reasons.
This game does so much wrong compared to what little it actually does, that I can't say this game is good. It controls fine and plays fine. The bosses are somewhat fun. But it's just so boring and just poorly designed that, like, I enjoyed it the first couple of hours, but after that, just no. It's just bad. Like, I honestly don't want to play this game again. When I was recording it, I was trying to write the script in such a way that I wouldn't mention any of the later parts, so that I wouldn't have to play the later parts. Of course, that didn't end up working, as you could see. But, yeah, like, it's just terrible. Which is why this game gets a 1 out of 4. And it's a shame because I love Godzilla. Godzilla deserves better. Which, thankfully, he does get better. But, with that, I've been Horror Show, and this has been VG Therapy.